Prologue. You are listening at FameTV.info. Why, this was the last word that had left my mouth, as I had been betrayed by the one I had trusted and loved the most. The only person who had accepted me for who I was and not thought to be, the person who I would have followed to the depths of hell if ever asked. As I muttered my last words to her, she grins and says, "TSK, TSK, TSK, my foolish lute, to think you would meet your end to such a pitiful death. Although with your death I will become a noble, thank you for trusting this one and giving me the glory for killing an impossible existence such as yourself. 2 days before. Wake up, brother lute, you'll be late for your coming of age ceremony. Father and mother are awaiting for you at the church for your coronation. My sister Elizabeth scolds me while taking away my blanket from me. I'm sorry, Elizabeth, for you having to do this. I'll be ready in a bit, you can go wait in the carriage until then, I tell my younger sister as I get out of bed and rush to get dressed. Shit, this is all due to being too nervous last night and overthinking the whole thing, not getting enough sleep, I thought to myself while running down the stairs to go outside as I had gotten ready for the ceremony. When I had reached outside I saw my sister and a woman all too familiar to me. It was a woman whom I had looked up to and secretly loved as a young child. She was my teacher for combat since an early age. "Oh, if it isn't my favorite student, did you get too nervous last night that you couldn't sleep, lute?" sarcastically remarked the woman. "Haha, you know me too well, Lilith," I say, half-heartedly blushing in front of her. "Brother, are you sick? Your cheeks are deep red," said Elizabeth in a worried tone. "Anyways, we should leave now or else we'll be late for the ceremony," I said, trying to avoid Elizabeth's question. We all got on the carriage and made our way to the church, which was located at the far east of the castle. After a good 10 minutes we arrived and exited the carriage. While entering the holy building I was greeted by my mother, who was waiting at the door with an anxious face. "Why are you so late, lute? You know we had agreed to meet on time yesterday so as not to be rude to the high priest," my mom harshly said to me. Now don't scold him too much, my queen, he must have his reasons for being late. Anyways, let us make haste to the high priest." My father had hastily intervened to stop my mom from starting a long sermon about why the newly crowned prince should not be late. "Thank you, father," I thought to myself as I greeted the high priest, who was ready for the ceremony. The ceremony had gone on for the whole day. When it was finished my father came up to me and had hugged me and had a prideful face as his son was finally a man. My mother and younger sister were both crying tears of joy while Lilith came up to me with a box in her hands. "This is for you, lute. It's a gift to congratulate you for becoming an adult, and for overpassing me in skill, as I have nothing left to teach you as you have become an existence stronger than myself," she said while giving me a bracelet with red engravings in it. "Thank you, Lilith, I will treasure this gift you have given me," I say while excitedly putting it on my wrist without caring what it was, as it was a gift from the women I loved. Everyone then gets ready to leave to head home as it has gotten late. When we arrive we have dinner and get ready to go to sleep as it late. The next morning I woke up early to go train myself at the training quarters, as I had done this daily to keep improving myself to get stronger so that I can be of use to my parents. I was the best fighter in the kingdom, as I had a strange constitution which had allowed me to reach the peak of anything I had tried to learn, making me seem like a monster to other people, but my teacher Lilith had seen me for my true self, which I was truly grateful for. Crash! There was a large noise while I was training. I had looked back to see the castle burning. I quickly stopped what I was doing and rushed inside, praying that my family was still safe. A group of people in black clothing which had spotted me and started to attack me. I, while worrying for my family, quickly killed them in rage, as they were rebels who had planned to do coup d'état to overthrow my family and gain the rulership. I enter the castle only to see the whole place on fire. I quickly run upstairs and enter my sister's room, as it was the closest, and see that the room was on fire and had no sign of my sister in it. I run out of the room and notice some rebels running into the throne room. I ran as fast as I could and entered the room and killed all the rebel soldiers with my sword, and noticed my mother and sister crying while calling out to my father, who had been stabbed while protecting my sister. I run to their side to see if my father is okay, only to notice that he had died. My mother started to break down due to the shock and stood there emotionless, while my sister cried her eyes out while clinging to my father's dead body. More soldiers had entered the room ready to kill us. I, being filled with rage, killed all of them without any remorse and started to look for more of them until a woman all too familiar appeared in front of me. Lilith, what are you doing here? Never mind, help my mother and sister escape, please, I'll cover you. Lilith doesn't say anything and slowly walks to my sister and mother and kills them with her sword while they were mourning my father's death. Lilith. What the F*** are you doing? I scream at the top of my lungs at her while rushing to go for the kill, as I had noticed she had the emblem of the enemy on her clothes. My dear Lute, my favorite student, oh how sorry I am for killing your mother and sister, she sarcastically says to me and activates the bracelet that I had on which restricted any movement from me. She slowly walks toward me and slowly puts the sword through me and looks at me with a big smile while I slowly lose my conscience. I say, why? With tears rushing out of my eyes, TSK, tisk my foolish Lute, to think you would meet your end to such a pitiful death. Although with your death I will become a noble, thank you for trusting this one and giving me the glory for killing an impossible existence such as yourself. Lilith had been planning this since the day she was assigned to be my teacher. She told me that she was afraid of me as I was a monster who had grown to quickly and outshine the rest in anything I had set my mind to. That is why she gave me the bracelet, as it had restricted my movements. I was heartbroken, betrayed by the person who I trusted and loved, but all these emotions had turned to rage at myself for being too weak and had let this happen. I blamed myself the most, noticing I was dying and was going to meet my family once again. I with sheer will broke the restriction, and before dying I stabbed Lilith in the torso. Impossible, what are you, you monster, to think you had enough power to break the curse? Lilith said before dying. Seconds later I too had knew it was my time and had opened death with open arms while losing conscious. I found myself slowly opening my heavy eyelids shortly after I was sure I had died and accepted death's warm embrace. In front of me 2 people, a man and a woman, smiled, while the women lifted me and asked the man, honey, what should we name him? The man then said with a look of pride in his face and says, his name will be Jarid. Author's note: thank you for reading this FF of mine. If I see people like it I will write more. P.S. English is my third language and am still a beginner in it. Listen to the full novel at FameTV.info, direct link in the description.